Imagine this. You're in a conversation, your mind is full of perfect English words, but when you open your mouth, it feels like a clumsy, unfamiliar dance. The words come out slow, awkward, not at all what you intended. It's frustrating, isn't it? I've been there. But what if I told you the secret isn't just in your mind, but in the very muscles of your mouth? Stay with me, because today we are going to unlock that secret together.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to another episode of the English Fluency Journey. I'm Bob, your guide on this path, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here with you today.
And I'm Cindy. Hello, Bob. It's fantastic to be back. And a big, warm hello to all of our wonderful listeners, both returning and new. We are so happy you've joined us for this crucial conversation.
We truly are. If this is your first time with us, let me tell you what we're all about. This is your sanctuary for simple, straightforward, and genuinely enjoyable methods to enhance your English, one manageable step at a time. We break down the journey so it never feels overwhelming.
That's our mission. And Bob, the topic we're diving into today is a game changer, one that many learners overlook. We're calling it Train Your Mouth to Talk.
Yes, it's such a critical concept. So many English learners operate under the assumption that speaking fluently is solely about vocabulary memorization and grammar rules. But that's only half the picture. The other, often neglected half involves the physical act of speaking, training your lips, your tongue, and even your jaw to move in new ways.
Exactly. Just as you would train your body for a sport or fitness, you must train your mouth for language. It's a form of exercise, a physical workout dedicated to the art of clear and natural speech.
So, in this episode, we will walk you through a detailed, step-by-step process on how you can train your mouth to communicate more effectively in English. We will cover essential starting points like mouth warm-ups, move into precise pronunciation practice, have some fun with tongue twisters, and even outline daily routines you can adopt immediately.
And there's no need to worry. We will keep everything accessible and engaging, ensuring you can follow along with ease, regardless of whether you are just beginning your English journey or have been on it for some time.
Excellent. So, without further delay, let's plunge into the heart of today's subject. We must begin with the fundamental question. Why is it even necessary to train our mouth to speak English?
That is the perfect place to start, Bob. It's the question that needs a clear answer before any training can begin. Many learners have a strong knowledge of English words. They understand the grammar structures, they can read and write quite well, but the moment they attempt to speak, they hit a wall. It feels incredibly difficult. Their mouth simply refuses to move with ease, and frequently, the words they produce sound strange or are unclear to the listener.
I hear this constantly from students I work with. They often tell me, Bob, I know exactly what I want to say, but I just can't get it out quickly enough.
That is the precise experience. And the reason this happens is that speaking is not merely a cognitive, thinking process. It is a physical activity. Your lips, your tongue, even your jaw, they are all active participants in the act of speech. If you do not train these physical components, they will move slowly or incorrectly.
That makes perfect sense. It's analogous to playing a sport like football or basketball. You must train your body consistently. If you never practice running, dribbling, or shooting, you cannot expect to perform well in an actual game. The same principle applies directly to speaking English. So, Cindy, now that we've established the why, I have another question for you. Can we truly compare speaking English to a form of physical exercise?
Bob, I believe that is the most accurate and helpful way to frame it. Just as you dedicate time to train your body at a gym, you must dedicate time to train your mouth specifically for the demands of the English language.
That's a powerful analogy. Can you elaborate on that for our listeners? Give us a concrete example.
Absolutely. Let's say your goal is to develop stronger arm muscles. What is the process? You would lift weights repeatedly. The first few sessions are challenging, even difficult, But after several weeks of consistent effort, your arms naturally become more powerful and capable.
Ah, I see the connection now. So, in precisely the same manner, if you desire clear and confident English speech, you must consistently repeat specific sounds and words. It's a regimen of repetition.
Exactly. Your tongue and your lips are like a complex set of small muscles. The more you exercise them with targeted practice, the faster, stronger, and more smoothly they will move when you need them to speak spontaneously.
That paints a very clear picture. It means if I never engage in this specific training, my mouth will consistently feel slow and uncoordinated when speaking, which leads to that feeling of awkwardness.
And here's something you might find amusing, Bob. Have you ever attempted a classic tongue twister?
Oh, yes, the old favorite, she sells seashells by the seashore, always comes to mind.
That's the one. Now, when you try it for the very first time, or even after a long break, what do you notice? Your mouth actually feels fatigued, doesn't it? Your tongue seems to trip over itself.
Without a doubt, my tongue gets completely tangled. It's a real workout.
And that physical sensation, that fatigue, demonstrates to us beyond any doubt that our oral machinery requires training, just like any other part of our body. The more we practice these specific movements, the easier and more automatic they become when we need them to speak spontaneously.
That paints a very clear picture. It means if I never engage in this specific training, my mouth will consistently feel slow and uncoordinated when speaking, which leads to that feeling of awkwardness.
So, the fundamental takeaway here is that learning to speak English fluently is not only a mental endeavor, it is a physical one too.
That is absolutely right. And the wonderful news, similar to physical exercise, is that if you practice every single day, even if only for a brief period, you will observe significant and encouraging results in your speaking abilities.
That is incredibly motivating. So now let's shift our focus and look at some of the most common and real-world problems learners encounter when they try to speak English.
That's an excellent direction to go in, Bob. So, Julia, we've covered the rationale behind mouth training and the exercise analogy. But I know our listeners are facing daily challenges. What are some of the most frequent problems you observe?
It's a very important question, Bob. I do see a specific set of problems recurring with many students. The first one is the issue of speaking too slowly. Learners possess the vocabulary, but when they articulate, there are these long, noticeable pauses between words.
Yes, I've certainly observed that phenomenon as well. It often seems as though they are internally translating from their native language in their head before speaking.
Precisely. And that brings us directly to problem number two, the habit of translating instead of thinking and speaking directly in English. When you are constantly translating in your mind, it forces your mouth to stop and start, preventing any natural flow of movement.
And I would wager that another significant problem is the element of fear. Many learners are genuinely afraid of making errors or sounding foolish, so they become hesitant.
Yes, and that fear often manifests physically. They don't open their mouth enough. They restrain the movement of their lips and tongue. Consequently, the words they produce sound muffled or are very hard for others to understand.
That's a great observation. It's almost like they are mumbling, wouldn't you say?
Yes, exactly. Mumbling. And one more critical problem is the rhythm of the language. English has a very distinct musicality, a rhythm based on stressed and unstressed words. If learners don't practice this rhythm, their speech can sound very monotone and robotic, lacking the natural flow of a native speaker.
That is so true. I remember one particular student who spoke every single word with exactly the same emphasis and pace like a machine. But once they began training their mouth to mimic the authentic English rhythm, their speech transformed and sounded immensely more natural.
So, to bring it all together, the common problems we see are speaking with excessive slowness, the mental habit of translating, the fear of making mistakes, insufficient mouth movement leading to mumbling, and a robotic, unnatural rhythm.
That is a very clear and comprehensive list. And the encouraging message is that every single one of these challenges can be addressed and overcome through systematic, step-by-step training of the mouth.
Exactly. And that is the very training we are going to explore next. Let's begin with the first practical step, the essential process of warming up your mouth before you speak.
All right, Cindy, now we're moving to our first practical, actionable step. You mentioned warming up the mouth. Can you explain to our listeners why this preliminary step is so crucial?
Of course, Bob. Think of it this way. Just as a runner would never start a sprint without stretching their legs, or a singer would never hit a high note without vocalizing first, your mouth and tongue require a warm-up before the exercise of speaking English. It prepares your lips, tongue, and jaw, making them more flexible and responsive.
That makes complete sense. So by taking a couple of minutes to warm up, I'm essentially priming my muscles to speak faster and with greater clarity from the very first word.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is its simplicity. You don't need any special equipment or a lot of time. Just a few focused exercises that take no more than a couple of minutes can set you up for success.
That sounds incredibly accessible. Can you walk us through a basic example right now?
Certainly. Let's start with your lips. Try moving them in exaggerated shapes. Slowly and clearly say the vowel sounds. Ah, E, O. Really open your mouth wide for the A, pull your lips back into a big smile for the E, and round them tightly for the O.
I-E-O. I see. So we're actively training our lip and facial muscles to form these distinct, essential shapes that are the building blocks of English sounds.
Yes. Next, let's focus on your tongue, which is an incredibly agile muscle. Try sticking it out gently and then moving it slowly to the left, then to the right, then upwards towards your nose and downwards towards your chin. This enhances its flexibility.
Wow, I never consciously thought about directing my tongue in those specific ways. It feels a bit funny, but also fun.
It is fun, and I promise you, it is remarkably effective. Another vital exercise is for your jaw. Simply open your mouth as wide as it's comfortable, hold it for a second, and then slowly close it. Repeat this several times. This helps release tension and makes your jaw feel relaxed and ready for the articulatory work of speaking.
So the three key areas are lips, tongue, and jaw. The key is to warm them up for just a few minutes at the start of each day or before any English practice.
That is the core of it. And the best part is the ultimate convenience. You can do this anywhere, at home, in your car before work, or even in a quiet corner before a class or a meeting. Just 2 to 3 minutes of dedicated warm-up can make a profound difference in your speech readiness.
Fantastic. Now that we know how to properly prepare our mouths, let's proceed to the next logical step, practicing individual sounds and mastering pronunciation.
That's exactly where we need to go next.
So, Cindy, we've warmed up our mouths. What is the immediate next step?
The next step is diving into the practice of specific sounds and pronunciation. This is paramount because many English sounds are physically different from those used in other languages. Your mouth must learn new, unfamiliar positions.
Yes, I know many learners struggle with particular sounds like the TH in think or the American R sound.
Exactly. Let's take the TH sound in words like think or this. This is notoriously difficult for many. The correct articulation requires your tongue tip to gently come between your teeth with air flowing over it, like think this.
Oh, that is tricky. It feels unnatural at first, but I can see how practicing it slowly and deliberately can build a muscle memory.
Yes, always start slowly. Another common challenge is the R sound. In words like red or run, the tongue does not tap the roof of the mouth. Instead, it curls back slightly towards the throat. Your tongue tip shouldn't touch anything.
That's a subtle but critical distinction. And what about the L sound?
Excellent question. For the L sound, as in light or love, your tongue tip must press firmly against the ridge just behind your upper front teeth. For example, light, little.
I see. So the fundamental strategy is to isolate these challenging sounds and practice them one by one with careful attention to the mouth's position, starting slowly.
Exactly. And through conscious repetition, you create new neural pathways and muscular habits. You can practice short words or even nonsense syllables multiple times until your mouth remembers the correct movement on its own.
That makes perfect sense. So our listeners should remember not to rush this process. They should take small, deliberate steps and incorporate this focused practice into their daily routine.
Yes, and once these individual sounds become more natural and automatic, it will be significantly easier to string them together into full, clear, and confident sentences.
Perfect. So after mastering individual sounds, the next step is where we can inject some fun using tongue twisters and repetition to build speed and agility. All right, Cindy, we've practiced those tricky individual sounds. Now, what's the next step in our mouth training regimen?
The next step is where we really start to build speed and dexterity, and it's one of my favorite parts, using tongue twisters and strategic repetition. This is a fun and incredibly effective way to train your mouth for better clarity and faster speech.
I have a love-hate relationship with tongue twisters. They're so challenging, but so rewarding. Can you give our listeners a classic example to try?
Of course, a wonderful one to start with is she sells seashells by the seashore. The key is to say it very slowly and deliberately at first, focusing on each sound. Then, once you feel comfortable, you can gradually increase your speed with each repetition.
She sells seashells by the seashore. Oh, yes, I remember that one. It's difficult at first, but it becomes almost meditative with practice.
Exactly. Another excellent example is red lorry, yellow lorry. This one is fantastic because it specifically practices the alternating R and L sounds, which are a common challenge.
So, the real magic here is in the repetition, isn't it? The act of repeating these complex phrases multiple times every day.
Yes, repetition is the engine of muscle memory. It trains your mouth muscles to perform these complex sequences of movements. Initially, it might feel strenuous, even tiring, but after a few days of consistent practice, you will find your mouth moving faster, more accurately, and with much greater natural ease.
That's tremendous. And beyond the physical training, I think it's also genuinely enjoyable. Learners can practice by themselves or turn it into a game with friends, making the learning process lighthearted.
Absolutely. The more you repeat, the clearer and more fluent your English will sound in everyday conversation. It directly translates to improved speech.
Perfect. After mastering tongue twisters, the next step is to bridge the gap between practice and real life by using practical short phrases.
That's the natural progression.
So, Cindy, tongue twisters are fantastic for agility. But how can our listeners directly apply this trained skill to actual conversations?
An excellent question, Bob. The next step is to move from practicing isolated sounds and tricky phrases to practicing useful, everyday expressions. Learners should focus on short, complete sentences that they are likely to use in their daily interactions.
That makes a lot of sense. It connects practice to purpose. Can you share some examples of such phrases?
Certainly. Think about phrases like, "How are you today?" Or, "Could you please help me?" Or, "I would like a cup of coffee." These are simple, high-frequency sentences.
So the idea is for learners to take these specific phrases and repeat them aloud, starting at a slow, deliberate pace to ensure accuracy, and then gradually increasing their speed while maintaining clarity.
Right. This practice does a crucial thing. It trains your mouth to produce full, natural sentence melodies, not just individual words. It builds the muscle memory for common grammatical structures and word linkages.
And when you repeat these practical phrases daily, they become so ingrained that during a real conversation, your mouth can produce them almost automatically, without hesitation. That's where real fluency begins.
That's exactly the goal. It's incredibly practical. So learners can start by selecting just 5 to 10 such high-use phrases and committing to practicing them every single day.
And the beautiful part is that these phrases have immediate utility. Learners can start using them in real-life situations right away, which builds confidence alongside muscle memory.
Perfect. After establishing a routine with phrases, I believe the next powerful step is to introduce self-feedback through recording and listening.
That's a vital tool for self-awareness. So, Cindy, we've practiced sounds, tackled tongue twisters, and worked on useful phrases. What would you say is the next crucial step in this training process?
The next step is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful yet underutilized tools for improvement: recording your own voice and then critically listening back to it.
Ah, self-recording. Why is this particular step so important for someone training their mouth to speak English?
Many learners are not fully aware of how they actually sound when they speak. When you are forming the words, your focus is on production. But when you listen to a recording of yourself, you become the audience. This shift in perspective allows you to notice mistakes, inconsistencies, or unclear sounds that you didn't perceive while you were speaking.
That makes perfect sense. So the recording acts as an objective mirror for your speech. It's a way to conduct your own quality control, right?
Exactly. And the great news is that technology has made this incredibly simple. You don't need a professional recording studio. The voice memo app on your smartphone or a basic program on your computer is perfectly sufficient. Just record yourself reading a short, simple paragraph or speaking those useful phrases we discussed, and then listen to it with a focused, analytical ear.
So the cycle is record, listen, identify areas for improvement, and then practice again with those specific areas in mind.
Yes, that's the essential feedback loop. Listen, notice the specific errors, perhaps a mispronounced vowel, a missing ending sound, or a stumbling over a word combination, and then repeat the exercise, consciously correcting those points. Doing this regularly trains your mouth and your ears simultaneously, accelerating your progress remarkably.
Perfect. And I also believe this practice builds a different kind of confidence. When you can actually hear your own progress over weeks and months, it provides tangible proof that your hard work is paying off, which is incredibly motivating.
Absolutely. Once learners witness their own improvement through these recordings, it fuels their motivation to maintain that daily practice habit. It turns practice from a chore into a journey of visible self-discovery.
Great. So after we become our own best critics through recording, the next advanced technique we should introduce is shadowing.
Yes, shadowing is a fantastic way to bridge the gap between controlled practice and natural fluency.
So, Cindy, we've learned about the power of recording ourselves. What is this next technique called shadowing all about?
Shadowing is a highly effective technique for refining pronunciation, rhythm, and overall fluency. The concept is to listen to a native speaker and then immediately repeat what they say, trying to match them as closely as possible, almost like an echo or a shadow.
Ah, I see. So you're not just repeating the words, you're actively trying to copy the speaker's intonation, their speed, their stress patterns, and even the musicality of their sentence.
Precisely. For instance, you listen to a short clip like, "I'm planning to go to the store later." Then you immediately repeat it, aiming to replicate the cadence and the linking of words. "I'm planning to go to the store later."
That sounds very demanding, but also immensely useful. It trains both the mouth and the brain to operate in sync at a natural speaking pace.
Yes, it can be challenging initially. Your mouth might feel like it's lagging behind, but with daily, consistent practice, you will find your mouth becoming more agile, your pronunciation improving, and your English beginning to sound much more natural and authentic.
That's brilliant. And the material for shadowing is everywhere, isn't it? Learners can use podcasts like this one, YouTube videos, audiobooks, or even dialogues from their favorite films and TV shows.
Absolutely. Shadowing is, without a doubt, one of the fastest ways to cultivate natural fluency if you commit to doing it consistently every day. It's like having a personal speaking coach available at any time.
Perfect. After exploring such powerful techniques, I think it's important to pause and discuss some common pitfalls. Before we finish outlining the training steps, let's talk about mistakes learners should be mindful to avoid.
That's a wise idea, Bob. Often, knowing what not to do is as important as knowing what to do. One very common mistake is learners trying to speak too quickly before their mouth has developed the necessary muscle memory and coordination.
That's a great point. The desire for speed can undermine clarity. So it's far more effective to begin slowly and deliberately, focusing on accurate formation of each sound, and then allow the speed to develop naturally over time.
Another significant error is the approach of passive memorization. Some learners spend a lot of time memorizing vocabulary lists or grammar rules silently, without ever actually forming the words with their mouth. This does very little to train the physical apparatus of speech.
And that's crucial. You must articulate the words out loud. The physical act of speaking is what creates the neural pathways and muscular strength. Silent study will not make your mouth move any better.
And then there is the third common pitfall, which is perhaps the most discouraging one: giving up too soon. Progress in physical training is rarely linear. Some days will feel more difficult than others. Learners need immense patience and must understand that consistency over time is the true key to success.
So, to encapsulate, the mistakes to avoid are prioritizing speed over clarity initially, memorizing without vocal practice, and abandoning the practice due to impatience. If our listeners can steer clear of these obstacles, their mouth training will be significantly more productive.
That is the perfect summary. Avoid these common errors, and the path to clear speech becomes much smoother.
Now that we have a clear understanding of the steps and the pitfalls, Cindy, could you provide our listeners with a simple, manageable daily training plan they can start following today?
Certainly, Bob. Here is a straightforward and effective plan that can be done in just 10 to 15 minutes each day. First, dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to warming up your mouth with the lip, tongue, and jaw exercises we discussed. Second, spend another 2 to 3 minutes practicing difficult sounds like TH or R. Third, repeat a few tongue twisters for about 2 minutes to build agility. Fourth, practice 5 to 10 useful, everyday phrases for 2 minutes. And fifth, conclude with 2 to 3 minutes of either recording yourself or doing a shadowing exercise.
Wow, that's a comprehensive yet compact routine. It covers every critical aspect we've talked about, and it only requires 10 to 15 minutes of dedicated effort daily.
Certainly, Bob. Here is a straightforward and effective plan that can be done in just 10 to 15 minutes each day. First, dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to warming up your mouth with the lip, tongue, and jaw exercises we discussed. Second, spend another 2 to 3 minutes practicing difficult sounds like TH or R. Third, repeat a few tongue twisters for about 2 minutes to build agility. Fourth, practice 5 to 10 useful, everyday phrases for 2 minutes. And fifth, conclude with 2 to 3 minutes of either recording yourself or doing a shadowing exercise.
Wow, that's a comprehensive yet compact routine. It covers every critical aspect we've talked about, and that only requires 10 to 15 minutes of dedicated effort daily.
Exactly. The consistency of daily practice is far more impactful than long, infrequent sessions. Just a few minutes every day will create remarkable differences in your speaking ability over weeks and months.
Now, let's connect this effort to real-world benefits. Julia, we've outlined the steps and the plan, but why is this entire process so transformative for someone's real-life English experience?
This training goes beyond mere pronunciation, Bob. It's fundamentally about building confidence. When you can express yourself clearly and naturally, you feel a profound sense of self-assurance in conversations, during job interviews, or when meeting new people. The fear of being misunderstood begins to fade away.
Yes, I agree completely.
And this practice also sharpens your listening comprehension. As you train your mouth to make the correct sounds, you simultaneously train your ears to recognize them more easily when others speak, creating a virtuous cycle of improvement.
And remember, every single minute of practice accumulates. Even just 10 minutes a day will empower you to speak faster, more clearly, and with greater confidence in authentic, real-world situations.
That is incredibly inspiring, Cindy. So, to our listeners, if you follow these steps with consistency, you will undoubtedly observe a significant and positive shift in your English speaking abilities.
And to help you start that journey, Bob, let's offer our listeners a fun and practical challenge.
I love that idea. What do you have in mind?
Here is a simple one-week challenge. Select 3 tongue twisters and 5 useful phrases from our discussion today. Practice saying them out loud every day for 1 week. And crucially, don't forget to record yourself at the beginning and at the end of the week, or try shadowing a native speaker using those same phrases.
Exactly. At the week's conclusion, listen to your first recording and then your most recent one. You will be able to hear the tangible progress, how much clearer, faster, and more natural your English has become in just 7 days.
That's the perfect way to see results and stay motivated. So, listeners, we encourage you to take this one-week challenge, embrace it, and enjoy the process of feeling your own growth.